This is the WRM V11 and it might be the most refined cube to ever be released. So after using it for a while, what's it actually like and could it be the new go-to for every cuber from now on? Well, there are 6 things that I really like about this cube and 3 that I'm not so sure on. But first, let's go back to when I unboxed this product. And in the interest of keeping this part short, in the box is the cube, a storage case, some accessories and leaflets. Which brings me on to the first thing that I really dislike about the WRM V11. And that is the amount of completely useless things you have to buy in order to get the cube. I mean, great, it adds to the initial experience of the product, but realistically the amount of people that will never use this stuff again or just add it to their pile of wasted plastic parts is worrying. But now, moving on to first turns, and to begin with, I noticed how much softer this cube is compared to the V10. However, the sharp and snappy feel which comes with a lot of MoYu cubes is still there, with it being rather fast out of the box. This led to a number of lockups initially, which were minor but still had a lasting impact on the turns I was doing. After that, I noticed the primary internals, which is different from the previous 2 versions of this cube. And that is the first thing I like about the V11, as it's clear MoYu have focused much more this year on making the Weilong seem premium in comparison to their other products. Moving on now, and one key thing is the UV coating, which really helps with grip. I understand that not everyone likes this, but for me it's the difference between being able to main a cube and it being completely unusable. But I'd be interested in hearing what you think in the comments. Going back to what I mentioned earlier about the frequent lockups, and if you look at the corner cutting, it becomes clear why this is. Obviously most cubes now can easily cut 45 degrees out of the box and maybe even more. However, the WRM can't even do line to line, which is worrying. So now let's take a look at some stock solves. This is just a couple of hours after I got the cube and no changes had been made at this point. Like I've mentioned, the corner cutting sucks straight out of the box, which is the second thing I dislike about the WRM V11. Cubes nowadays should not be having issues with small cuts, especially more premium ones like this. However, the second thing I like about this cube is how soft it feels. It's clear that MoYu have gone in a slightly different direction with this 3x3 compared to the V10 and V9, as this one is noticeably smoother and more similar to other cubes like the Tornado V4 or RS3M V5. The result of this is that the turning is significantly faster, which combined with maglev could result in very unstable turning. However, thanks to a 20 magnet ball core, you are able to maintain control over solves, which makes this the third thing I like about the V11. I also think it's cool that this is transparent, meaning that you can see the inner workings of the cube. But now let's set it up to make it even better. First of all, after taking off the center caps, I made the tensions slightly looser to allow for better corner cutting. This also made it a bit too uncontrollable, so I added a slower lubricant to ensure that it would be a good speed for my turning style. And now this cube is ready for some solves and my final review. But first, you will notice that this video is not sponsored, so if you like my channel and want to help support it, you can become a member for access to exclusive videos every month and a bunch of extra features. So click the join button below or go to the top link in the description if you want to see more videos like this one that normal viewers don't have access to. But now, what are my final thoughts on the WRM V11, and is it the new best 3x3? Well, to begin, after setting this cube up, there is a massive difference between the solves before and the solves after. Not only is the corner cutting finally up to the standard of a 2025 release, the enhanced stability and control combined with the existing soft turning really helps with making as few mistakes as possible. On top of this, the 20 magnet ball core largely contributes to the effortlessness of solves, ensuring they require very little force. But now going on to the fourth thing I like about this cube, and that is how lightweight it is. Normally I would say that this is a drawback, as I hate super light 3x3s. However, MoYu has done something differently on the V11 where you gain all of the benefits of an airy design without having the issues surrounding a lack of control. Some more positives about this cube also include the UV coating I mentioned earlier and how the magnets are now exposed, which I think is a really cool improvement. But there is still one overriding issue I have with this 3x3, and that is how little has actually changed from the V10. Sure, they have made the internals out of a primary plastic and the magnets are now exposed, but in terms of hardware that will make a difference to your solves, this release is slightly disappointing. In the past, we got massive upgrades with MoYu finally going to a fully customizable dual adjustment system on the V10, or even the first edition of a ball core on the V9. Yet the V11 has nothing like that, with all of the upgrades being very small. And I understand that MoYu can't include things like adjustable magnets, as this would overshadow their Super Weilong line. However, when you're spending nearly $50 $60, you'd expect premium features, especially considering you can buy the Tornado V4 at the same price. So to see me battle these two cubes, subscribe, as this will be next week's video. And let me know in the comments, do you like the V11 or will you stick to older iterations of this 3x3? Thank you for watching.